first album and the second album really got across what they're capable of live, which the Fillmore album became like one of the greatest live albums ever recorded.
No one had ever put out a double live album before. That was a gamble. That was almost reckless. Two sides of the album. Yes, that. But, you know, they all knew, Phil Walden, that they came alive when they were on the concert stage.
A decade after forming the Uniques back in Daytona Beach, Duane Allman had finally reached a mass audience. While the Fillmore East album rose up the charts and pushed the Allman Brothers Band into the mainstream, the group themselves continued with their relentless touring schedule. In August 1971, Duane took a short break, joining the band Cowboy, who were introduced to Capricorn Records the year before, in Muscle Shoals Sound Studios for sessions for their second LP. He also attended the funeral of King Curtis, the saxophone virtuoso who he had recorded with and befriended in Muscle Shoals. By September, however, he was back in the studio with the band for the recording of a new album, and with a hit record behind them, things had changed.
Album for the Allmans, the pressure was on. They were no longer a southern band, quote unquote, or a boogie band or whatever. They were now a top shelf act, hugely successful, having to go back to the studio and create another record. Pressure's on.
That's $78.29.
Oh, I've only got $50. Take out the cheese puffs and the broccoli. I mean,
It would be Empower app.
Pressure's on.
This time, the band split their recording duties with continued touring, and despite being present for a number of the sessions, having relentlessly pursued his singular musical vision for the best part of a decade, through different projects, venues and studios across America, his band was finally achieving recognition both in the US and his guitar technique and his musical sensibility were continuing to develop. 1971, a life of passion and inspiration came to a sudden end.
October 29, 1971.
There had been a break in touring because the band members went into rehab to clean up the heroin use. And Duane had come out of that clean as far as heroin.
Sure, the information was sketchy. They weren't sure how serious of an accident it was, but we knew that there was an accident, a motorcycle accident.
Big Linda's birthday. She was Barry's wife. Duane was driving over to West Macon in his Harley Davidson Sportster. Behind him was Candace Oakley, who was Barry's sister, and Duane's girlfriend was in the car with her. Coming in the other direction was a flatbed construction truck, and it had a crane on the back for lumber. Duane's driving, truck turns in front of him. No sweat, because by the time Duane gets there, the truck's going to be gone. Except there's a big pothole at the intersection. Truck stops, blocking Duane's path. By the time he either had to lay the bike down or hope he could somehow swing around it. There was a big iron ball at the bottom of the crane, and apparently that hit either Duane or the motorcycle. Duane flies off the motorcycle. Motorcycle flies up in the air and slams into Duane. He passed away just a few hours later.
Phil Walden and his wife had been in Bimini for a little vacation, so and of course put the funeral plans in motion. But what a shock! What a shock!
On November the 1st, 1971, Duane Allman was buried in Rose Hill Cemetery in Macon, so often the location of his group's nighttime diversions. Only 24 years old when he died, the hole he left in the Allman Brothers Band was potentially unfillable, and many speculated that without their leader, the group wouldn't be able to continue.
It was like, well, what are we going to do now? I think at the funeral, when the band played, I said, we're going to be all right. I mean, it's not going to be the same, but we're going to go forward. My fear was gone at the funeral when they played, or what a moving thing that was. And pretty quickly thereafter, we were, you know, back on the road, but not with the idea we got to go, you know, we got to go grab the money. It was just like, we got to keep this thing going.
In February 1972, the final Allman Brothers Band LP to feature its founding member was released, Eat a Peach. With Duane absent on only 3 tracks across the double album, this collection of live and studio material provided listeners with some of the guitarist's most impressive work, and it became the band's first album to break the US top 10.
Duane's death probably had some sort of effect on the success of Eat a Peach. There's always going to be that element. The thing that sold everybody on that record was Mountain Jam, because that was a monumental piece of work. It was quite a hell of a swan song for Duane.
Mountain Jam, which goes on for like 25, 30 minutes. Duane's solo on that is phenomenal. It's like listening to Coltrane. It's like listening to Miles. He starts here and ends up here and goes to a lot of
Performances on the live recordings captured the best of his improvisational techniques. The album was perhaps most notable in that it contained his only original composition. The melody of the track, Little Martha, came to Duane in a dream, in which it was played to him by the recently deceased Jimi Hendrix, and the resultant guitar duet aptly brought Eat a Peach to a close.
bringing together 2 things in his life. In Rose Hill Cemetery, there's a statue of a little girl named Martha Ellis, who died when she was around 11. And everyone called her Little Martha. But also Duane's girlfriend, he nicknamed her Little Martha. That's the only song he's credited with writing. I mean, he helped with arrangements, and the only song he wrote. And it's just a beautiful, sweet, loving song.
Duane had cut a little Martha because it's a poem. It's obviously rendered even more poignant by virtue of the reality, but it's just a sublime little piece that not only shows his dexterousness, I mean everything he played did, but showed a gentle, really touching part of it that you don't get in the cranked up stuff. So to be able to just open
It's fitting that it closes the studio side of Eat a Peach.
Established the band as one of America's premier rock acts. Through 1972, both the venues and the audiences increased, and Dickie Betts in particular began to shine both as a lead guitarist and songwriter.